Starts now. Thank you for joining us here at 11. We begin with an overhaul of Portland's form of government. It's something that many, from the mayor on down, have said is desperately needed. But in a meeting today, the city council had questions for the group that came up with the redesign plan. Our Alma McCarty has been following this discussion and has the update.
Portland's Charter Commission, an independent group of 20 people, wrapped up 18 months of work, voting 2 weeks ago to send a proposal to voters that would fundamentally change the city's style of government.
Many of Portlanders think the city is on the wrong track and that big changes, including structure of city government, are needed to ensure our government is more accountable, more transparent, and more efficient and effective, more responsive and representative of every area of our city.
Under this proposal, there are several changes. Among them, ranked choice voting, an expanded 12-member city council with 4 multi-member districts, and changed roles for both the city council and the mayor.
It really was a long process of lots of changing and making sure that what we were proposing was responding to what community was asking for.
Members of the public voiced support and some opposition during a city council meeting Wednesday.
This proposal works as a whole to create a more responsive, accountable, and representative city government.
The Charter Commission is proposing that we go from a government that no one is using to a government that has never been used.
There's no reason why voters shouldn't have the option to vote yes on the government reforms and no on an oversized, untested, bad idea multi-member district.
This is an important measure because it has all of these working together moving forward. To take any of them out is to undermine our movement towards better governance, better representation, more diverse representation.
As you heard there, one major point of contention from some citizens and city commissioners is the size of the ballot measure that includes all the changes rather than separating them for voters.
I take a look at like the city manager thing, the multi-member district thing, the ranked choice thing, the expanding the size of council thing. Those strike me as being really fundamentally different.
Members of the Charter Commission defended their work.
There's absolute policy reason that we're proposing them all together because they hang together and they don't exist effectively toward the goals that we set out when we first started separately.
There is no plug and play model, that there is no one way to get to that shining beacon of a city.
Important to note here, this meeting with the mayor, with council, was just a formality, an informational meeting that doesn't change the fact that this measure, as it stands, will be on the November ballot. If approved by voters, the government wouldn't change until January 2025. This transition and implementation could cost the city several $1 million. Laurel?
We will be hearing a lot more about this as we approach Election Day. Thank you, Alma. This week, Portland leaders are taking new action to try to reverse the spike in gun violence, one of which is to address police staffing shortages. Today, City Council passed an emergency ordinance allowing the Portland Police Bureau to use $500,000 on hiring bonuses. At last check, there are more than 100 sworn officer vacancies. Some of that's due to early retirements, a trend we're seeing across the country.
My colleagues and I hear from constituents every day who are very frustrated by the shortage of officers available to respond to their calls for help. And frankly, we have an obligation to use every tool that we can to address this historic staffing shortage. This ordinance enhances our ability to attract candidates for both lateral officer positions as well as PS3 positions.
Depending on the position, bonuses could range from $5,000 to $25,000. It's important to point out this is use it or lose it funding. That means whatever the Bureau is unable to use this fiscal year will have to be returned to the city. Now to more information on the latest COVID-19 surge in Oregon and how it's lasting longer and doing more damage. The prediction was that this latest surge would peak mid-June, but that did not happen. In the past 3 days, a mini spike has taken us from 357 hospitalized to 402 reported today. Cases have been climbing too, for the most part. But the good news is deaths are nothing like we saw with the Delta variant. In Washington, a similar surge, but less severe than Oregon.
From a clinical perspective, we're not seeing huge differences in disease. What we have noticed and are dealing with is that each of these subvariants are more transmissible.
Health experts say the best defense continues to be vaccinations and boosters if you're eligible, along with other safety measures you've heard before, like staying home if you're sick, testing, and masking up. And in tonight's other headlines, an FDA advisory panel is recommending adjustments to COVID booster doses ahead of this fall. Advisors voted to modify the shots to target the highly contagious Omicron variant. The existing booster shots from Pfizer and Moderna target the original coronavirus strain. There is no decision yet on who would be eligible for the next round of boosters. Good news if you're planning a trip to Sauvie Island. A road closure that was leading to major traffic jams is now over. Crews were able to finish emergency repairs today on Reeder Road. It is now back to 2 lanes, just in time for the holiday weekend. Be aware, though, crews will be back next Tuesday to pave the area. TriMet and leaders at the union representing transit workers are proposing extending their current contract. It's set to end this November. Under the tentative agreement, it would extend through 2024, but with new raises included. This comes as TriMet deals with historic staff shortages. It has resulted in bus lines being cut and delays on MAX trains. Now to an update on backlash from local mayors and other elected officials over a controversial golf event set to kick off tomorrow west of Portland. This will be at Pumpkin Ridge Country Club. The Live Invitational Golf Tournament is backed by Saudi Arabia, a country accused of numerous human rights abuses. Kylie Boshi has been following the story for us from North Plains.
Normally when big events come to town, local leaders are pretty excited. It brings in tourism and some extra dollars. But in this case, local leaders are opposed to Live Golf coming to town for a couple of reasons. One, public safety and security. They worry about protests. The other, the human rights issue. The controversial new golf league, Live Golf, coming to Washington County this weekend, is facing fierce criticism. 11 local mayors have said they don't want it.
This is not a political issue. This is an issue of safety. This is an issue of unwelcomed tournament coming into our own backyard.
Despite the backlash, KGW found the lucrative new league has made business deals beyond Pumpkin Ridge, host of the event, including a contract with the Washington County Sheriff's Office and the Portland nonprofit Eco Trust. On Tuesday, Live Golf hosted its glitzy Pro-Am pairing party at the Red in southeast Portland. The event space is owned by Eco Trust. A similar draft party prior to the inaugural event in London was abruptly moved after the host venue reportedly walked away fearing bad publicity.
My hope is that Oregonians don't help the Saudis write another grisly chapter in the sports washing playbook by supporting this tournament that helps to normalize these Saudi atrocities.
Oregon Senator Ron Wyden has been a vocal critic of the event, which is backed by Saudi Arabia, a country long accused of numerous human rights violations. Wyden adds the Saudis are also suspected of whisking away its citizens charged with crimes in the U.S., including a college student charged with the deadly hit and run of 15-year-old Fallon Smart in southeast Portland.
This is the cruelest possible insult to the family of Fallon Smart.
KGW has learned organizers of the controversial Live Golf event also signed a $58,000 contract with the Washington County Sheriff's Office to help with traffic and public safety. A spokesperson explained that's not unusual to help recover costs from a private event. As part of a statement, the Sheriff's Office explained, while we understand the Live Golf Invitational is controversial, we still have an obligation to keep people safe. Oregon's governor suggests the human rights issue should not be overlooked.
I am hopeful that the sponsors are listening and hearing the concerns that are being raised about this particular event.
During press conferences this week, several professional golfers, including Bryson DeChambeau, sidestepped the issue.
And from my perspective, we're golfers. We're providing entertainment globally and will continue to do so as time goes on.
Players admit being enticed away from the PGA Tour to play Live Golf. The Saudi-backed golf league is spending big money. The event starts tomorrow and runs through Saturday. No word on how ticket sales are going. So far, we haven't seen any protests, although 9/11 families are scheduled to hold a protest here tomorrow morning. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.
The final episode of KGW's True Crime podcast is out tonight. Should Be Alive examines the 2019 murder of a Vancouver teenager named Nikki Kuhnhausen. She was killed for being transgender. Episode 6 follows the verdict in David Bogdanov's murder trial and includes a reaction from Nikki's family and friends.
What is her story that's still going to you? What is it that you would want people to know about Nikki and her story, and what can we all learn from her?
You know, just be who you are and don't be ashamed of who you are. She was never once ashamed of who she was. And she wasn't just a transgender teenage girl. She was Nikki, and she had a lot of life, and, you know, she was very bright. She was very caring and loving.
Episode 6 also explores the important legislation that came from Nikki's death and how it will protect future LGBTQ crime victims in Washington. You can now listen to all 6 episodes of Should Be Alive wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to learn more about the case, we have photos, videos, and much more information at kgw.com/shouldbealive. And I have to tell you, I stayed up late last night listening to the last episode. It's powerful, it's impactful. I highly recommend you binge listen to this one. It's well worth your time.